Good evening, people. Welcome to Reaching Out with Eddie Holt. I want to just thank a couple of people before I get started on this show. First of all, foremost, I just want to thank my family, but I want to thank Miss Kim Franklin out in Kokomo, Idaho, and I want to thank Brenda Gordon, Indiana. Forgive me, Kim. You know what, Kim? I appreciate any advice that you give us or any feedback. People, you can't say anything that's gonna hurt my feeling. I really appreciate you when you redirect me or tell me things like maybe I'm cursing too much or maybe I'm rambling. I tried to put in so much information last week, and I think maybe that, and I probably should, if it happened again, just again touch bases with me and make sure that I continue to bring you the type of show that you can enjoy. I just want to thank Brenda. I hope she don't mind me calling her name. Folks, you know I curse sometimes. I promise you. You know she got on me about cursing, and Marie Franklin has too. And I try not to. Sometimes I be so upset and I don't think, and my tongue get ahead of my brain. But I can promise you that every time I use profanity in order to express myself, almost instantly a picture of Brenda Gordon comes up in my face. And now you know you don't supposed to. You know you can do better than that. And so I kind of appreciate that. So it's not going to always be something. And I call it constructive criticism. So I appreciate Brenda and I appreciate you too, Kim. And I appreciate all of you out there. In the future, we're going to have Tavia Rand's going to come on this show. He would have came today, but he's doing a play or a dance skit or something like that. He told me that he's planning for it, and I think he do all the training and everything. But anyway, he's gonna come in and he'll tell you about that, and that's for the parade. I guess the Martin Luther King parade. People, I gotta tell you this is that I play in the church. I play rhythm and lead guitar. I can play rhythm or lead guitar. I can play lead guitar or rhythm, and I know what I'm doing. And I can tell you that I'm a member of Greater Mount Hermon Baptist Church, and I can tell you that I have a really good time playing that music, and I really enjoy myself. And folks, let me tell y'all something about Tube Belt. Those of you that never been to a blues show or saw that, my brother David Hope can sing. I can remember one time back in the day when we was Dennis Edwards was introducing the Temptations, and he introduced each and every one of them, and he had taken over from David Ruffin. And one thing he said was that he introduced everybody, and he told what voice they sing. Eddie Kendricks, tenor, falsetto. I forgot Melvin Franklin, yeah, bass. And then he finally, after introducing everybody, he introduced himself. And he said, "My name is Dennis Edwards, and I sing in all the voices." And while, I mean, he was arrogant and conceited, I never met but one person that can sing in every key, sing in every voice, and can sing, I mean, falsetto to bass, and that's David Holt. I call him tube bell because with that tube bell, they can do a lot. My brother can really sing. If you don't have anything to do, on Sunday, come to Mount Hermon Baptist Church and watch an expert guitar player. My brother said I have a brain in these fingers right here. Well, I something in them, but I can tell you this is that we're here to have a good time. And so I just wanted to touch upon that. And I have a sister. Just about everybody in my family can sing, and I can sing a little bit, but not much. And I can tell you, once I heard Chuck Berry play the guitar, that's all I wanted to do. And of course, I played the same thing for probably about the next 30 years, and I think Tubelt know how to play that too. Just about everybody that ever picked up a guitar know how to play. We're gonna call it the doom, the doom, the doom, the doom. Well, I did that for probably about the next 30 years. But anyway, I didn't really learn guitar until I was like, I'll say probably about 31 is when I started studying. So you can say I've been playing for about 35 years, seriously. And so, but I want to talk a little bit. We talked about prison reform last week, and I talked to you about the Consumer Protection Agency, and I talked to you about the lemon law. So I'm going to touch upon these things again today, and I'm going to go into detail, and I'm going to tell you guys some history. I'm going to tell you about some people that are having problems with a dealership right here in Philadelphia, Mississippi, in the state of Mississippi. But when I tell you something is going on in Mississippi, chances are this is something that they're doing in other states too. almost all states have what you call a lemon law. But before I go into that, I want to talk to you about prison reform. And I know I told you that Latoya Brown was going to be here today. One thing I can say about Latoya, she's a hands-on mother, and one of her children is going to be in a play, I think at the Children's Theater or the Little Theater. And the parents were supposed to meet Saturday, but because it's going to be inclement weather Saturday here, then they're meeting now as we speak. So she may come in later, but she will be here Tuesday. One of the things we talked about prison reform. When you talk about prison reform, you're talking about reform is remaking, doing something different that's being done right now. And here's what I say. And I want to tell you guys the number. The number to call in is 601-627-5318. 5318. 627, not 527, but 627-5318. Easy number to remember. And I'm going to tell you why, folks. I got to deviate just a little bit. It's easy to remember 5318. I'm going to tell you why. Because the best looking man you ever saw, born in 1953. Right? That's right. And that's me. Well, my grandmother, she was born in 1853, and 100 years later, a genius was born, and that's me. And she lived to be 105 years old. She died in 1958 at the age of 105. And so when we talk about prison reform, what we need to do is reform Mississippi prison. Since 2007, only 3 private prisons have operated in the state of Mississippi. They used to be owned by, they've changed names a lot, but the people that are managing the private prisons in the state of Mississippi is MTC, and that's Management and Training Corporation. And it's a group of these private prisons, and they have about 6 million shares, meaning that it's for profit. And some of the parents complain about the conditions of the prison and not feeding the inmates properly. And so we're going to talk about, I have a link on my page, and I want you guys to go to it. And this link here is the science agenda to exterminate black people. And I received that link for someone, and I can tell you I watched it in great detail, and some of the things that I've talked about on this show. This is recommended reading for any person, not just black people, but for any person. You're talking about the scientific community exterminating black people. So again, when we take a break today, we're going to play a portion of it for you just so that you can see it. But I want you guys to look at this. I want you to share with other people. Some of you may have Dice, you've seen that video before, haven't you? And it's very good. But here's what we need to do in the state of Mississippi. We need to do away with private prisons. They've done that in other states, and the state of Alabama is slowly coming where Mississippi used to have more people. At one time, they had turned everything over to the private prison, so they've done away with a lot of them. Right now, they only have 3 facilities that are Parchment naturally still being run by the state. But when you have it ran by the state, you have maybe, you saw how Christopher Epps got in trouble. They call it the hustle. It was a sting. But I don't want to talk about that today because that's something that's not affecting us right now. What's affecting us right now is the condition that the inmates are living in the state of Mississippi. But it's like that in other places too. What I'm told, and I got to verify this, so I don't want to say anything that I haven't verified, so I'm going to say I'm told that in federal prisons, they allow for you to have a cell phone. They need to allow for an inmate to have a cell phone. Now, some of you out there may disagree with that, but the reason why I say that, having a cell phone in prison, it would create more transparency in the prison, meaning that the officers would no longer have, they would no longer be able to sell a cell phone for $600 or $400 and a charger for $200, and they're doing that now. And so you got to take the profit out. Also, it would reduce stress when an inmate can call home and talk to their loved ones, to their children, to their mother, to their father, to their friends. When they can go on Facebook and do things, then that will reduce stress and a fight like took place or has taken place in Mississippi prison and other areas of the country would never take place. And I know some of you are saying out there, a cell phone in prison? Yes, they got them there anyway. They get them there, and guess who's bringing them in? The officers are bringing them in. The employees are bringing them in. Some family members are doing so. So if you take away the profit motive out of the act, then that'll reduce the stress. Oh, we have another thing that cell phones would do. It will alleviate the financial stress that's placed on families, because families have to pay cell phone bills. I mean, not cell phone bills. They have to put minutes on the books, or if some prisons have phones inside, allow for the inmates on certain days or certain times of the day to call the family at an astronomical fee. And it does not make sense to burden people that does not have. And so, yes, allow cell phones in prison. So that'll do a lot. Dice, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, again, I'm sorry, my mic went on. Yeah, again, if you take that profit off, like what we were talking about last week, then, I mean, you're automatically solving the problem to a certain extent. Matter of fact, if it was going to be profit-based, it'd probably be better if they gained a profit based on how many people are rehabilitated. Now, there's a challenge, right?
That's right.
You know, that would be the same thing like what they do with the school
Did you know
system.
how much money they get paid per inmate in the state of Mississippi?
No,
per
I'm not
day,
sure. How much?
$42.12 per inmate per day. They don't have an incentive to send anybody home. They're not rehabilitating anyone. They don't want to feed. If they're getting $42 and there's no checks and balances in this, they turned the entire program over to private prison. So they're not going to feed them. They're not going to give them medical care. They don't have access to law libraries or anything like that. So it's a violation of the civil and constitutional right. It is.
And that seems like a small amount, but that adds up.
Yeah.
Especially when you put the numbers
per
on
day.
It. Yeah.
Per inmate.
Yeah,
per day. So y'all do the math on that. That is a lot of money.
Yeah,
and guess what, people? Mississippi is among the states, if I'm not mistaken, Mississippi is the lowest paying state. This is the lowest amount that's paid to a company to come in and manage your child or your brother, your cousin, or somebody you know or somebody you don't know. Other states pay a lot more money than that. State of California seem to be trendsetter. They've done away with private prisons, and a lot of states have not using and won't use them. How about I read today, I do a lot of Googling, that the state of Alabama is slowly, they doing it subtly, changing over to private prison. And so we don't know how that's going to go. And I want to talk about the link. So if you have a question or you have a comment, please like us, leave your comments, send your comments to reaching out with Eddie@yahoo.com. That's our email address. The web page is reachingoutwitheddie.com.
They can comment.
Yeah, you can comment.
They can comment under the video as well.
That's right. Thanks for that, Dice. And folks, I want to, I've been asked, how do I get this? Folks, you really need to see this setup. I wish I could just take another camera and just show this is awesome here. And if we was to switch around, Dice, do that. Well, you kind of like you kind of can see when Dice is talking, you're seeing him, and so you can kind of like see this. Dice did this. He built this. So if you want to start your podcast and you want a video, I don't think he would have to say that. But let's just say I wouldn't recommend an audio cast because people want to see you. They want to see your facial expression. But the packages here start at $35. The Dice Man now, he going to give his phone number out or tell you how to contact him. And you can call in and you can contact him through this website, through this web page. Leaving your comments, asking him to call you, but he'll do you a podcast. He'll do it, training and everything, and set up your system similar to this. The minimum packages start at $3,500. Now that's the Dice Man. It has nothing to do with me. No profit in it for me. It's him. For him to come in and assess your needs and building this here with 4 cameras and 4 microphones and 1 monitor or 2 monitors, Dice.
They get 1 monitor.
You get 1 monitor. And so for him, but that's the pack to start him. But if you wanted 2 monitors, whatever you want, you can pay for it. But the
Right.
pack to start at $3,500. And I wanted you guys to know that because a lot of you out there may want to do this. So tax season is coming up. So if there's something that you want done, then the Dice Man is ready. He's available for you. And the pack to start at $3,500.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So is it anything you want to add to that, Dice?
No, that's basically it. I can customize, the package for anybody, but it's gonna be professional all the way.
That's
I'm
right.
involved in it.
And I can test to that. And what Dice did when he did is we had a few bugs that he worked them out. So I'm sure that he'll give you some type of guarantee to work the bugs
Yeah,
out
yeah.
and things like that. Now after probably how long it took us to work the bugs out about the third program, we knew
Yeah,
immediately.
it was
First
very
program
short.
we knew
No
immediately we
longer
knew.
than a month.
Yeah, no longer than a month. But I can tell you this, that the bugs that we had here, you would not experience that because it's kind of like hands-on. This is Dice Man first time doing this, people.
Trial
And
and
you
error.
see how, trial and error, but he wouldn't have to do that now. He knows exactly what to do and how to do it. This link that I want you guys to look at, the science agenda to exterminate black people. This is not anything that just now started, people. This thing started a long time ago as far with the Tuskegee studies. That was 1932. How about when Planned Parenthood came into being around about the same time? They've used the scientific community, and the evidence of that you can look at Flint, Michigan, what they did to the water supply. You can Google this. People have already been indicted and are going to jail because of falsifying documents. Now, they didn't do this in Boise, Idaho. They didn't do this in Springfield, Missouri. They did this in a majority black community. Now, George Bush taught us something a long time ago when he talked about collateral damage. So yes, it would be some white people that die, but that's the collateral damage. And don't think because I'm always looking at black and white, I'm just a black man and I'm just being factual and I'm fighting for the racism and the bigotry and the discrimination that's against us more so than anybody else. One way they're doing that is through gene sequencing. And you can go to the grocery store and you can buy food, got GMO, genetically modified food. They've already making plants, corn, things that'll kill the insect or the rodent, but won't kill so that when they eat it, it'll destroy them so that they can keep growing food. So if you think if they can destroy a rodent or roach or insect or ant or any other vermin, that they could not do the same thing with us. The over incarceration of black men. You can go and Google it, and you can see that. You can see how things change once Jim Crow is another thing that came in. When you look and see when the Civil Rights Act of 1964, I think that's when it was passed, how a high number of incarcerated men went from mostly white to mostly black people. So you can go back and you see evidence of anything. I promise you, once you look at this link that was sent to me, you will be able to see. You might hear my children. They don't know any better. So y'all forgive them. I'm going to pause in a minute and I'll go and get them in order. But, I'm a hands-on parent. Another thing they talk about, the sterilization of black women. If you can go back and you can see what, I think it's North Carolina, South Carolina, if you were poor, if certain things happened, it was a requirement. It was mandatory that black females be their ovaries removed or a hysterectomy performed on them. They didn't just go in there. And one of the things that we talked about when I first started college is that how hysterectomies came about, not a way of health. They didn't know the purpose of anything. The only thing they know the purpose of it was actually is to hold the baby in the womb. And what they did, and they did that to mostly black women, is they removed their womb. And that's where the hysterectomies come in at. Dice, talk to the people for a minute. Yeah, talk to the people for a minute. Because you know about this. You've seen this video. So talk to them about the video for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, the video is basically giving you a rundown of how things have systematically been done to eliminate us because, they're talking about population control. So you got to know that they're talking about controlling the population. Of course, they're going to go with the bottom line first, which would be us, because that's the economic situation we're in. And they're doing that through. I don't take flu shots and all these other things. That you never know what these people are putting into you. So to trust that system when this system has historically been against us, to me is very foolish. So um, it's a lot that goes along with it, and you just have to be aware of everything, and you definitely have to protect the future generations coming, especially your children and things like that, by informing them of what's going on.
And that is correct, people. And here's the thing that's going to really shock you, that the guy that's doing this, his last name is Adams, and he is a white scientist. I mean, has books out there. We're not talking about some kook. We're talking about that's the irony in it. I know what y'all was thinking. Wow, Gray Holt done went and got some black fool to say that. No, no, no. And what he's saying is that in order, and he quoted this, and I've quoted on other shows before when I was at the radio station, in order for, I guess, for bad men or evil to prevail or survive, is good men do nothing. And so he's going to say, and he said everywhere he go, he has a gun because they lied on him. They done things to him because they hate the information that he's getting. And that video's been watched over 1 million times. Folks, I hope that we can bring that on up because you really do need to know. And information is the key. And I want to talk to you just a little bit. I want to tell you this, all you Christians out there that are listening at me. God said that my people suffer for lack of knowledge. And God also said, arm yourself with the sword of truth. Again, alluding to education. We suffer because we don't know. And the sword of truth ain't nothing but knowledge, folks. Not misinformation, not his story, but the true story. So anytime you hear in history, you getting his story. History is his story. That's how it come about when you look at the etymology of the word. You need to get the true story, and the only way you're going to get the true story is that you're going to have to do your own research, and you're going to have to do what God said. You're going to have to separate the shade from the weed. You got to separate, like the lady with Planned Parenthood, she called black people weeds. You in the garden, you got to take the weed up in order for the fruit or the vegetable to flourish. That's what you got to do with information. You got to weed out that's not true. You got to make sure when you pass a story along that you're not passing along his story, but you need to make sure that you get your story. You got to get your story correct. It is not. Now, I appreciate what scientist Adams doing. I appreciate his contribution to the enlightenment of all people. But here it is not his duty or his responsibility to make sure that we know or make sure that we're not giving ourselves misinformation. So it's up to us to enlighten ourselves and make sure we get our story, the true story, not his story, because most history is written. If you go to Germany and read what happened in World War II, you'll get a different story. If you go to England, you're going to get a different story. And look how in Iran, how they shot, they killed Soleimani, General Soleimani. They killed him. They assassinated him with a drone. And folks, they retaliated by shooting into the green zone near the compound. Folks, that's not what I would have did. I'm just telling you the truth. I would have, eye for eye. I killed my general. I'd have killed 2 or 3 of yours. That's just what I would have did. I'm just telling you the truth now. Ain't nowhere in the world they should have done that. Yeah, we know that the United States is more powerful, but you got to put a bully in their place. You cannot let anyone just pick on you, hit on you, and beat on you, and you don't retaliate and do anything in kind. I did something for a person that none of your business what his name is, and he was afraid to file the paperwork. After I do paperwork for him, you can't be afraid to file anything when you in the battle, when people are doing something to destroy you, to hurt you, to take away your freedom or take away your livelihood. You got to fight back. You can't be afraid. I ain't like that. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to use a cannon when I go to the war. I'm going to use a cannon against birds. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to do like Donald Trump. I'm going to totally annihilate. Now, had they actually dropped the bomb on, I know I'm not saying that we should destroy America. I'm just talking about how I would retaliate. I would have been the Iranian general, the Iranian premier after you killed one. If you kill 2, Bell, and I know you done it, I'm going to do some. You might get me, but I promise you, you ain't going to mess with another Holt. I'm just going to tell you. That's just how it is. What they did, in my opinion, was a cowardly move on both parts. I don't think that our president should have done what he did. I talked to two white men. I talked to a room of folks, and it was just two white men in there. And oh, they were very proud. They were elated. They were very happy. It's got to be something wrong with that. When you kill somebody that hadn't done anything to you or to your country, or you hate, like us, we're hated because of the color of our skin. We haven't done anything to anyone or anybody. We were forced to come into this country to work and to do things labor free. And then January, we really became afraid because that's when they sold. That's when they settled their debt. January 1st, all debts were settled. And that's when you done been places. Brother Dice, I done been places. People, I done been out places, and I seen people that look just like me. Just like me. You know what caused that. That means that somewhere down the line that my brother and my sister were separated and went to different parts of the country. We didn't have a choice in that. And everybody have been paid some type of reparation. And we're all affected by what happened to us. It wasn't just white people. And that's one of the things that if you look at this video, it'll lead you to other videos. That it wasn't just us that was affected by slavery. White people was affected by it also because it gave them a type of superior feeling. It gave them a type of they don't turn the other cheek. They teach that to us, to turn the other cheek, to accept our conditions and wait for God to change our conditions in the second coming, or wait for God to, we want manna from heaven, right? I don't know how manna tastes, but it gotta taste kind of like crow to me. If I gotta accept all what's going on to me, the bad, in order to eat manna from heaven, I don't want it. I'm just telling, that's me now. I don't mean to go off on a tangent. Let me kind of like get back. Miss Kim, how you doing out there? That's Kim Franklin in Kokomo, Idaho. Did I say it right that time, Dice?
Indiana.
Wow. Kim, don't. I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna write it down here. Indiana. I didn't know. I thought isn't it Kokomo, Michigan?
I don't know.
But it sure is one in Indiana. I got you now, Miss Kim. I appreciate all of you out there listening. I want to talk about something else. One of the things that they talk about when you look at this video, one of the things that scientist Adams, almost Professor Adams, talked about is that Black Lives Matter. It said that Black Lives Matter got it wrong, people. It says that they're falling for the distraction of white supremacy, while the medical experiment is what really killing black people. And if you look back, you'll see that, because you got the chemicals in the water in Michigan, you got the Ebola virus, you got the AIDS virus, and then how about autism is on the rise in the black community? How is that happening? How about the polio vaccine? So all these things are designed to keep the drug administration rich, keep people rich, they'll get them richer, so they're purposely making us sick. And so they say it's a distraction. Wow, you know what, people? Kind of tend to agree with that. When we're out there, we fighting and we busting each other head. Look what happened in Parchment. They don't care about us. They don't care anything about that. You ignorant people. You know what I started to say, brother, but I didn't say it. I started using the N-word then. You're ignorant because you're killing your own kind. I mean, and you shouldn't. Well, I just got a text came through the other way. Y'all don't need to know who it is. I got her hid. I don't even want y'all to see her, and I ain't gonna tell y'all name. Hey, baby. Anyway, y'all forgive me for that. But anyway, I hate what happened in Parchment, because we gotta have another way. We won't sit down and talk, but the same kind of racism and prejudice that we're permeating against each other is what happens in our communities. Folks, I don't know whether this is true or not, but my niece went to Freedom Rock over there on 5th Street. This is a church, people, for those of you that don't know, in Meridian, Mississippi, that's up and coming. They turned her around at the door and told her she couldn't come in there. In order for her to come in there, she got to go before a committee for about 2 weeks and go through training. But before they do that, they're going to check her credit and all that. Wow, man, what? And it's okay. And see the prejudice and the racism that's within the church that shouldn't be there. But you're talking about one God now. How is it that you got one God in so many different denominations? How is it that you do so much praying and so much ill and so much wrong all at the same time? And I'm not talking about all of you, because there's some good people out there. There's some very good Christians out there and Muslims, along with Buddhism and Hinduism. But we got to really stop killing ourselves. We got to stop killing each other. We got to watch when we go to battle, because those people that were killed, that was somebody's son, that was somebody's father, that was somebody's brother, and that's sad. And when you talking about die and go to hell, the person that made that video gonna get some more time, because people, it ain't nothing. Everything is video. Everything, when you texting, when you sending things, they know where you are based on your cell phone. They know where you are based on all of your information. So when you talk, you talking to the man. So continue to put your pictures out there with your showing your dope and showing your money. When you go to court, you're going to have to explain that. If you ain't willing to explain that, you shouldn't show that. If you can't explain that, and if it's illegal, you can't explore. We got to show. We are one of the smartest people in the world, but we're not acting like it now. We're not. And when I was talking about those two guys, I said, when I said, what about God? What about, going back? I'm going back a little bit, Kim. When I talked to those two guys and asked them about the killing of the general, I said, so what about an eye for an eye? He said, I ain't worried about an eye for an eye. I would have took his whole eyeball out. Wow, man, where that kind of hate come from? People, when they feel like that, that's how they feel about everybody that's not like them. I'm going to talk a little bit about Jussie Smollett. Y'all know him on the movie Empire. And the reason why I want to talk about Jussie Smollett, because all of you know about him. The judge, they assigned a special prosecutor for him. You notice that in January the 19th of last year, he was the victim of an alleged hate crime, and after doing the research and investigation, come to find out that he allegedly paid two brothers $3,500 in order to stage it, and so they charged him. And so once all the charges was dismissed, he became bold, he became boisterous, and see there, I'm innocent. See there, I told you that I didn't do anything. Wow, big mistakes, folks. Let me tell you something. Somebody told me a story one time about the bird waiting too late to fly south, and so it started getting cold, and he fell to the ground, and the snow covered him. He was on the ground, and he was cold, and he fell on a pasture, and the cow came along and poofed on him. And so the manure landed on top of the bird. And so the bird would start getting warm and got happy and started singing. And once he started singing, the fox or the wolf heard him singing and came along to investigate and dug him up and ate him. And so the thing of that is, when you in poop, keep your mouth shut. Jussie Smollett should have kept his mouth shut, because the judge ordered Google. Let me read this to you, folks. They ordered Google. And the reason why I'm telling you guys about this, matter of fact, Dice, what I want you to do is go and play that little segment. I want just a portion of it. And I'm going to come back in about 5 minutes, people, and then we're going to close this show out, okay? Go ahead, Dice, man. Play that clip, just a portion of it.
A think tank in the UK says too many kids are what's making the planet worse.
In many black communities, for every child actually born, 3 others are aborted, more than double the rate among whites. Some say abortion is the #1 killer in the black community.
African Americans here in this country are the only ethnic group in any place on the globe that's not replacing themselves. This is genocide.
Hillary Clinton received the Margaret Sanger Award. This is a woman who started an organization called Planned Parenthood, and that woman called black people human weeds.
An organization whose founder believed in eugenics.
The goal? To rid the country of the feeble-minded, defectives.
States in the United States refusing to compensate victims who were forcibly sterilized because they were deemed unfit to reproduce.
If they could keep certain segments of the population from reproducing, that all of the world's problems would disappear. And so
we have spent the past few weeks calling and emailing politicians in California, and the silence has been astonishing.
Welcome to this talk. It's called The Science Agenda to Exterminate Blacks. This is a fact-based presentation, but it is not politically correct in the status quo halls of science and medicine because they don't want this talked about. And they especially don't want it talked about by a white scientist. And I'll give you a little bit of information about my background soon so you understand where I'm coming from and why I'm taking the steps to go public with this information. The truth is there is a concerted, organized, long-standing effort to eliminate African Americans from the human gene pool. Not just African Americans, by the way, but Africans. This is happening right now. You are being subjected to it. It's happening through multiple vectors of science, medicine, and food that I will detail here in this talk, and it's all being done covertly. So almost no one is aware of this. The entire mainstream media refuses to acknowledge this. The scientific community will say that none of this is true, and yet if you look at the facts that I'm going to share with you and the history that's undeniable, you will see there is a concerted, organized effort to eliminate blacks, i.e. African Americans. I'm going to use those terms interchangeably just for brevity here. But there is an effort to eliminate those people from the human gene pool. My background, just so you know, my name is Mike Adams. I'm known as the Health Ranger. I am a lab science director. I founded and built a world-class analytical laboratory from scratch. It is ISO accredited. It's recognized around the world for analytical science of heavy metals and food contamination, environmental contamination, and so on. We've done volunteer work, testing over 600 samples of the U.S. water supply, and we've also volunteered our lab efforts to Native American tribes who have been impacted by the EPA's poisoning of their rivers. So, by the way, it's not just blacks that are trying to be eliminated by the status quo. It's also Native Americans and other minority groups that are routinely targeted by not just the EPA, but other groups that we'll talk about here. I do want you to know that because I am an outspoken science whistleblower, that I am maliciously attacked, defamed, lied about. I am targeted for intimidation tactics. They try to silence my words. They try to make sure that you can't hear this talk. I've been death threatened. I've been stalked. I have to live a lifestyle of extreme secrecy. And I'm armed 24/7, including right now. And this is what it takes in our world today to tell the truth about science and medicine, especially when you are uncovering a mass agenda of genocide and eugenics, which is very prevalent through our systems of science and medicine today. So I do want all of you to know, all of you who are watching, and if you're sharing this with your friends and colleagues, I do want you to know that I'm putting myself at risk to say these things, especially as a credible scientist of an accredited laboratory facility, which has everything to do with the heavy metals poisoning that we're going to talk about. They absolutely don't want this information getting out. So let's start with something that we can all easily agree upon because it has been in the news everywhere, and that is the heavy metals poisoning of the predominantly black communities of Flint, Michigan. So no one says that's a conspiracy theory, right? The water supply for millions of citizens in that region, who again were predominantly black, was allowed to be deliberately poisoned with lead, a toxic heavy metal that...
Folks, I want to welcome you back. I strongly recommend you to watch this video from the beginning to the end. It is very good, and follow those links, anything, and look at the comments there, and leave your comments here. And again, if you want to call in and if you have something to say, 601-627-5318. And the reason why I talked about Justice Smollett is because I want, the point that I'm trying to make to you guys is that he ordered Google for an entire year, from November 2018 to November 2019, any files in Google Drive Cloud that's voice text called deletions, web browsing data, also his location, everything, people. The point I'm making to you is that they keep a record of everything you do, everything you say. If you do it online, on the internet, they have a record of it. Justice Smollett opened up a can of worms. He should have stayed quiet, and he should have paid the $10,000, whatever they asked for, and should have left. And not so much caring about Justice Smollett, I'm pointing out to you guys the far-reaching arms of a judge's order. When they tell you, Google, it's called a production of documents. When they produce those documents, they produce everything. Everything you say on your cell phone, everything you record, even if you attempt to record it, voice recordings, everything is kept and stored somewhere. I don't know where it's kept at, but they sure keep. Google keeps everything. If you call somebody and you hang up, even everything, wow, people, that's the reason why I talked about Justice Smollett. It's the magnitude of that, not the judge's order, but how they keep everything on you and everything you've done. So you better be careful when you texting and saying things to people, because if you go to court for anything, dealing with anything, whether it's threatening someone or anything like that, they have evidence of that. They gonna pull the evidence of Justice Smollett talking to those guys. Not only they're getting his record, they ordered that his manager's records also be released. And folks, I want to talk to you about the lemon law. I want to talk to you about the Ford dealership in Philadelphia, Mississippi. I think it's Marshall Ford, if I'm not mistaken, but you can Google it. Ain't but one Ford dealership there. This guy here, his name is, I'm going to call him Ant. Ant bought a 2018 Ford F-150 from Marshall Ford in Philadelphia, and he had nothing but problems out of it. He hadn't had it a year. He's taken it back multiple times. It's been there now weeks. And so what he did is that he went back to them, telling them about the vehicle, and guess what they're doing? Attempting to sell him another vehicle. Mississippi does have a lemon law, but you got to know about how to do it. The Attorney General will advise you on what to do and how to deal with the lemon law. But I'm finna what Mississippi lemon law says, that if you have a vehicle and it's less than 12 months old and is still under manufacturer's warranty and is defective, and what they call defective is that you have a problem that will compromise the safety of the vehicle, or it's inoperable, it's breaking down. It says that if the defect substantially impairs the safe operation or value of the vehicle of use after 3 times of going back to the dealership, or if the vehicle is out of service for more than 15 days, you got to give the manufacturer, not the person you bought it from, but the manufacturer. Such as if you got a Ford, then you got to go to Ford Motor Company. You got to give them a written notice of a last chance to repair the defect, and give them 10 days to do so, or finish it up in those 10 days. And if not, then you can demand a refund or a new vehicle, and the law allows for them to take away 20 cents per mile. And if they do not, then you could file what you call a dispute resolution through the manufacturer themselves. They have resolution companies. So I wanted to tell you that. So, folks, don't buy a vehicle from Marshall Ford. I'm just going to tell you that. If they're treating him like that, imagine how many people have a defective vehicle and go back to them, and they say he paid $10,000 down on this vehicle. And when he paid $10,000 down on this vehicle and he go back, he's having problems the whole year. He hadn't had the vehicle a year yet. And so instead of them giving him another vehicle or invoking the lemon law, the first thing they tell him is, you need to we'll give you another truck. But with another truck, they want him to pay $5,000 more down, and his payment's going to go up, and they're going to keep that vehicle. Now, folks, that ain't right. That's not what the law says. So he called the Attorney General, and I think they either misdirected him or misled him. They gave him wrong information. That's the reason why, people, you have to do the research for yourself. So what I did is I did this research so that I'll know, so that I can tell you what you do, not for used vehicle. If you get an as-is warranty, then as-is what it is. A lot of things has to be in the contract. And folks, I want to talk a little bit about Cassie Coleman. Cassie Coleman has until Monday January the 13th to turn over documents. In the lawsuit against her about residency, they asked for a lot of documents. They call that production of documents. And instead of producing the documents, she asked for an extension. So she had, Monday is her deadline. So far, she has not given anything. And people, what they're going to do is that they're not going to let her drag this thing out. And that's her attempt. Meaning that whenever they file someone asks for something, she asks for an extension or she wait to the last minute to do something. So here's what I want to advise Cassie to do now. I want to talk, Cassie, I was in the courtroom and I saw Cassie and I talked to Pam Chapman. It was her cousin that was given 25 years, and the other guy, I talked about that in the past about what happened is that they had a video that was suppressed. And that from what I understand, that the video came back in trial, was allowed to be used, and that the video had changed. And so here you go again, is that you have a person that's willing to do these type of things, and we want them to represent us. So here's what I'm told that's going to happen to Cassie if she continues and she don't resign. And I suggest that Cassie resign in order not so much to save face, and go back to Georgia and just resign. If she resigned right here, Mississippi is not going to pursue her. They're not going to charge her with anything. They're not going to do anything to her. But if Cassie Coleman keep that job here, insisting that she's a resident of the state of Mississippi, then she's going to be in trouble with income tax evasion with the federal government and in the state of Georgia. So, Cass, I got to ask you this. Do you want to go to jail? Is this so important to you that you hate black people so much that you want to be around here and continue Billboard Mitchell's legacy of sending black men incarcerated? That's a form of genocide, folks. When you watch this video, you'll see that you want her to stay here to continue to kill folks. Now, understand that when you destroy one aspect of the community, you will destroy all aspects of the community. So, folks, we gotta I'll keep you updated on that. I want to talk to you about me being a paralegal. Folks, I'm a pretty good paralegal. I'm pretty good at that. And so when I told you guys about the expungement law, how you can get, do you believe it that black people are not taking advantage of this law? I talked to some people and they don't even understand, and it done fell off. Man, we really gotta get our priorities in line. And we really got to start doing those things that's necessitated in order for us to live a good life, and so as to take away their argument. I want to talk about our mayor a little bit. I talked to Toya Brown, folks, and LaToya Brown, we call her Toya, but LaToya Brown's going to be on this show. And when she come on this show, folks, we're going to treat her like a guest. Now, she worked for Percy Bland, and she loved Percy, and and I like Percy. And but folks, and I'm gonna say this, people, y'all ain't gonna agree with me on this, and some of you might not like what I'm saying, but I'm gonna tell you this: Percy can be reelected. Y'all heard me say it. What? Percy can be? Yes, he can be reelected. How can Percy be reelected? He take away your argument. How would he take away your argument? Percy, I'm gonna tell you now, fixing these streets is not gonna be enough. That's just about as bad as Wayman do again. That's watermelon. Wayman, I didn't say this when you was here in front of me, but I'm saying it now. Percy, you got to do a little bit more than that. You got to take away his argument. You got to, Percy, I'm going to tell you what you got to do in order to win. In order to win, Percy, you got to rescind those salary extensions that you gave everybody. You got to rescind those salaries. You're going to have to fire some people. You're going to have to replace some people. You're going to have to ship some people around. You got to do some changes in that courtroom. Bid it just ain't going to get it. You got to give us some, you got to put some black peoples in there besides Tarquez Hobson doing an excellent job. But we need more than that. I think Tarquez is kind of like a clerk. We need some juice up in there, like maybe the prosecutor. So how about making Biddick the defense attorney? How about just sending the Biddies on home? They make enough money. They don't make enough money off City Meridian. How about let Denson be the prosecutor? But you're going to have to get rid of Richard. You're going to have to get rid of Terrell. You're going to have to put the Kelly girl in her place. You're just going to have to make some hard choices first if you want to keep this job. So, but if you ain't willing to do that, then the next mayor will do it. You understand what I'm saying? You got to do some changes. Like almost all of your department head don't live inside the city meridian. So you need to change the law so that if you work for the city, you need to live inside of the city. You need to live inside the city that you need to live inside of the city that you're going to represent. We're paying you a lot of money for you to take that somewhere else. So Percy can he can be reelected, folks, if he makes some hard choices and do the things that need to be done. Do the things that he should have done 4 years ago. It ain't never too late. It's only too late when you're dead. But if Percy don't do these things, I don't think he'll be reelected. The Republican Party has a plan, folks. What I'm told that the Republicans already have a white male that's going to run against Percy and seem to think that they can win it because white people gonna vote, but we're not voting. So how about we're so saturated, we're so divided, we're not going to come together. So I don't care if 500 of us run for mayor. All 500 of us, the 499 that lose, need to come in and circle the wagon and support the Democratic nominee. It's simple as that. However, now, if Percy don't change and don't do things, well, folks, I'm going to be one of them people that vote for a Republican. I'm going to just tell you that. I don't want to talk about anything else, but I do want to say this, that I really appreciate all you guys listening in, and I appreciate everything. I hope that coming year be good for you as it is for me and for my family. Y'all have a good evening. Hey, Dice Man, play a section of that video and take us out with the video. You turned it off? Well, I tell you what, people, we ain't going to play our theme song because, you know, I knocked the computer over and I needed a little something to it. But the Dice Man is on it. I promise when we come back, it's going to be some music. Hey, I love you guys out there. Thanks for listening. Tell somebody. ReachingOutWithEddie.com. Y'all have a good evening.
We got to stop from messing up the land. When what we understand, this is a lesson of the chance. Everybody, it's a future shock. I'm nothing to eat. So got it made, but still seems so afraid. There's no love for his brother, no plans for another. Future shock, what's been going on? Future shock, everyone's alone. Future